Hi everyone, hope you're all well. I thought we would do today something that's called Neurographic Art. Now I've been seeing this online and I thought it'd be interesting to share with you. To me it looks a little bit like what we used to do when we were kids, but and it is pretty well what we used to do as kids, and most of us found it pretty relaxing, which is the point. But it was a psychologist, a Russian psychologist, who coined the term neurographic or neurographic art, or neurographica, and it's based on the patterns from neurons in your brain, and it's becoming quite popular. Now you can look at it as a scientific term and an art therapy type of, I don't know, what would you call it? Just an art therapy. And today we're going to concentrate, mostly on the art aspect of it, but there also is the relaxation and the meditative state that you go into when you're doing this sort of art. Same idea as Zentangling, just takes you to a relaxing spot. And yeah, so like I said, it was developed by a Russian psychologist, and Pavel Piskarev. I don't know how you say it. Something like that. You can always look it up. And it was formed in 2014. And it's to engage more neurons in your brain. And it's to help you relax, release some anxiety, stress from your life. Now, some people say what you should do is, whatever your issue is, whatever your challenge is, write it on the back of your paper and then yell it out. I'm not sure what that does. It maybe just makes your brain focus on what it is that you want to achieve. But it is meditative. I find it very relaxing. And when you're concentrating on something that is bringing you joy, that's meditation. So yeah, basically what you're going to do is take a Sharpie or some other pen, thicker nibbed pen like this, and you're going to draw, for 3 seconds, you're going to draw some squiggly lines, basically. Some like to do it with their alternative hand. If you're right-handed, use your left. If you're left-handed, use your right. Coming from outside of the painting back to outside of the painting. So coming in like this, do this for about 3 seconds and then out. Now what you can do is you can come in after you've drawn your initial lines and just add to that if you choose. Or come down from here, go up here. Something like that. Okay. Some of my lines are not as solid as others just because my marker's getting old. So I'm just going over those a little bit. Now you can use whatever you choose to use as a medium. For today, I'm going to use Sharpies, alcohol ink pens, and watercolors, just to, demonstrate different mediums. I'm just strengthening my lines here. And it's okay if some areas are, if you have to come in and make them thicker, that's all right. The idea is not to stress about any of it. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because I belong to several groups. And in the groups, I hear people saying they're stressed out because they can't do this or they can't do that. And that's certainly not the purpose of art. The purpose of art is to bring joy. And it should be the same for the artist. When they're doing the art, it should be bringing joy. I mean, if it's not joyful, I don't see the point. Unless you're trying to make a political statement. But for the most part, most of us are doing this for the joy of doing it. So, and that's why I decided to make a video doing this sort of meditative art, just to bring back the joy for some of us that have lost it due to I don't know, peer pressure, whatever it is that's happening. The feeling inadequate, like you can't draw well enough, you can't paint well enough, you're not being successful, you know, forget all that stuff. What we're going to do now is we're going to round off the intersections. Everywhere a line intersects another line, we are rounding those lines off like this. And that's going to create a look that's sort of like neurons. So everywhere your lines intercept. I know sometimes when you're a YouTube creator, even those of us that are small YouTube creators, we end up putting pressure on ourselves, and at times it can take the joy out of your art. And when I find I'm getting to that point, I usually take a little break. Or take a break from doing videos and just art for the sake of arting. Or do a craft for the sake of doing a craft, rather than dealing with the pressure of creating a video. So yeah, it's not about creating pressure and stress. It's just the opposite. So that's what makes this so fun. And you may recall, you have to let me know in the comments if you did this as when you were a child, because this was popular way back when. I mean way back when. Not, you know, necessarily this part of it, but when we get into the painting, making these squiggly lines and then painting them in, that's what I'm referring to, that we did as a kid. Just checking my camera. Okay, we're all right. So you come in with a certain size, depending on how thick you want your lines to be, certain size pen, and then you use a thinner pen, smaller tip pen, for your intercepting lines here. Now for today's sake, because I want you to see that you can fill this in with sharpies. You could fill it in with alcohol ink markers, or you could fill it in with watercolor. So I'm going to do a little bit of, use all three. So how are we doing for our intersecting lines? So you can see where you get the idea of the neurons from your brain, how this, how the name would have come about. Now, sometimes it's nice just the black and white, but today we're going to fill this in with color. Okay. Now I did one this morning and it ended up looking like stained glass. I was actually really pleased with it. It took me a few tries of different things before I got to something that I really liked. So, yeah. So now I'm just going to come in. I'll start with some watercolor. So I'm using watercolor paper, by the way, cold pressed paper. And I'm just going to come in with some paint. And I'm going to start off with a bluish green because I love this color. And I'm going to make it quite dominant. I'm going to pick this one, I think. And we're just filling in the spaces between our lines. And as I said, you can use Sharpies, you can use colored pencils, alcohol ink markers, watercolor paint. You could use acrylic paint. Just about anything that you're going to use, that you might use for adding color. Okay. Now I'll probably wait for that to, well, let me just add a little bit more while I'm here. I like dark colors, so you choose how you want to do yours. You might like to do it in lighter, more pastel colors. You could use metallic paints, pastel paints. I tend to like darker colors, so I'm going to make mine rather rich in color. Okay, let's do another section in watercolor, and I think I'm going to go for a nice sap green. Let's do it right here. Why not? And I'm just using a student grade paint. I'm using Paul Rubens Vivid Colors. Now I've seen one person do their squiggly lines and then come in with circles. That looked cool. Whatever floats your boat. You just decide how you want to design your neurographic art. Okay. I'll do one more with the watercolor and then we'll start with maybe our Sharpies. Let's do a nice red. Let's try Madder Lake. This is very much a pink red. Beautiful color though. It's like a magenta, I guess. Okay, so I'm going to dry that and then we'll come back and we'll start with our Sharpies. Now I was looking at my pattern here, it's not a deliberate pattern, but I've decided I want a few more lines. So I'm going to come in and put a few more lines in. No hard and fast rules. Okay, so I have to fill in my areas where my lines are intersecting again. And then we'll come in with our Sharpie or Sharpies. Now the reason I decided to put a few more lines in is because I like my outside, the outside of my painting, I like to do it in black. I just like adding black to things, I guess. I guess you'll notice that about me once you've been around for a while. You'll start noticing my watercolor paintings, me adding black. Yeah, I just like the effect. So I'm going to do that in this too. Okay, is that it? I'm sure it's not. I always miss one or two. Oh, let me see. Oh, maybe that's it. That's surprising. Okay. Okay, let's come in with our... Oh, no. I knew I'd find at least one or two. Anywhere else? We could always fill it in as we go. I come across another one. Okay, I'm just going to use some Sharpies here and fill in some more color. Now, of course, when you do yours, you decide whether you want to use colored pencils, Sharpies, alcohol ink, watercolor, maybe even just a pencil or charcoal pencils. You'll decide, and then you can do what I've done and use different things, or you can obviously stay with just the one. You know, do it all alcohol ink or do it all watercolor, whatever you choose. Now I'm going to speed this up because it could take me a while. It takes me a while to decide what colors to use for one thing. So I'm going to speed this up so there will be no talking until I come back at the end. So see you then. Okay, so here's our finished piece. As you can see, I came along the outside and painted it in with a black Sharpie, just because I like that. So it has almost a stained glass effect. You can also doodle on it, sort of do some Zentangle type doodles on it if you choose to do. Or you can leave it white on the edges and just finish with something that looks a bit like this. So yeah, whatever you decide to do, the whole point being it's your decision. It's just to help you relax, to relieve stress and anxiety, and just do a meditative art. So I hope you enjoyed that. Would love a thumbs up, and you folks have an absolutely fabulous day. See you in the next one.